Okay. Good evening and welcome to our regular meeting of our City of Scottsburg Advisory Plan Commission. Normally, Mr. Lowry presides, but he's under the weather tonight, so since I'm vice president, I got to step in on his behalf, so bear with me. So I call this meeting to order. The first item is I'd like to introduce the board. So Marcia, if you could maybe start down there.
Martha Bella Smith, Lisa Baker,
Jeremy Eggert, city engineer. Mary Hayes.
Brad Stotts, vice president.
Carmen Bowley, director.
Greg Piper, counsel.
Nina Balderas.
Kevin Smallwood.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for our April 2025 regular meeting. Everyone hopefully has had a chance to review those. Are there any amendments or changes or any discussion from the board? Okay. With no changes, would someone like to
I'll
make?
make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
Okay, we have a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a second. Mr. Hayes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. We've approved our minutes. Next item on the agenda is old business, which at this point we have none. I don't believe we have any old business. So then we'll move to our next item of new business. And we have 3 items of new business tonight. Carmen, would you like to introduce the first item?
Yeah, so the first item on the agenda is PC 2-25, which is the Summit on Main. It is a primary plat petition. This is the first of 2 approvals for the subdivision. If this were to pass, the applicants will go, they'll do further engineering, they'll meet with our technical advisory committee to make sure all of the hoops are passed off before they get final plat approval. This plat currently has been submitted with 31 lots. There will be 15 duplexes, and it is on North Main Street, kind of across from Craig Park. There were 24 public notice letters sent out. 6 responded objecting, 3 responded not objecting, and 5 were undeliverable. And any notes from the technical advisory committees or any public notice responses are in your guys' packets. So at this time, Jerry, Jeff, if you guys would like to present your project, I'll get it up on the screen, and then we'll do any public information afterwards. You guys are free to get rolling.
Excuse me, Mr. Mills, would you mind, could you stand and maybe speak up a little bit because we're having trouble hearing you up here, please? You're Mr. Mills, correct?
I'm on.
Okay.
He's really. But, yeah, we shoot here. Faces, you know. Side is only good, side is good. Back panel, two-story, three flats. So that would basically be the design, we'll go to the modern exterior. Steel and some masonry, that siding. Brushes. So, that's cool. That's the fourth and the total living space downstairs much to the city. We had with the garage, about 17 years total share of the area in the meantime. With the garage, so it's 50 living space. The size, people are not starting with the so we were very large and, you know, obviously, I think it's attractive. So, that's really the way and all. This is the one, you know, more detail, we may choose to go through some of that, and flush it. Phasing, make it, like it would be stretching. Then it's back in, this is. That's, it's this, we can go in here. Where some lot of information. This is where it's located, this is what this year, we bought. And like I mentioned, the property tax and like fees and stuff like that. Okay. Next week. This again, which is one of the. We can have this in the area to the city.
Yep.
That's it, good change.
Thank you.
Good change.
Okay, so you guys ask any questions?
Okay, does anyone on the board at this time have any questions or any comments? Anything you'd like to ask?
We rented, Cindy, what will that?
Haven't got any authorities. I'm not here that you.
What we're approving is to go to the next step,
No, this is a primary plat.
primary plat.
So, and when you consider a plat, case law is pretty well settled on that, for over 30 years. What the courts have said is you're acting in a ministerial duty, which means really the test for this is, do they meet, is it a permitted use in the district? And do they meet all of the development standards, lot width, lot size, setbacks, those types of things? If you check all those things off, the courts have said you must approve the primary plat. And if you don't, you have to tell them what they need to change to be able to comply with either the use requirements or the development standards requirements. So within 15 days after you make that decision, if it's a denial, we have to give them written findings that tells them that. So I didn't do the review.
Yeah, so in your packet, the second page, the back of the first place, our city engineers consulting, I think Jeremy also reviewed it as an additional thing and they found no discrepancies.
There's some, some things that would need to be supported down the line, but it complies with the UDO for residential.
So that's, I guess what I would say in a nutshell is that if anyone is opposed to this plat, since it's properly zoned, there's a plat drawing that the city engineer has reviewed and hasn't found any deficiencies in his review. But the test is, can somebody identify something in the subdivision control ordinance that they don't satisfy? And in that case, you can't approve it until it's fixed.
After this, it will go through drainage approvals and stuff before it comes back to this board for final approval.
Mr. Pfeiffer, our job is just to give an approval, thumbs down
Correct.
to the council for them to
This
vote.
doesn't-
Well, the council doesn't vote on it, but they can't sell lots until the recorded plat. The plat is recorded and they can't do that until after they come back and all of those additional plans have been drawn and approved by the various other entities. And so you'll have all that when they come back for what's called secondary or final approval. And if you grant and tip, and again, as long as it materially complies with the plat they gave you tonight, you pretty much have to approve that too. So, but you can inform the public and yourselves a whole lot more with the information you have at that point in time.
Yes. Okay. Very good. We'll open up for questions.
I have a question.
Yes. Marshall?
This property, is this the old, what I call day span property?
Yes, I do.
Okay, okay. And I know I'm jumping ahead here a little bit. What is the size or the square footage of these duplexes roughly gonna be? 1,500? So 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and how much? 2.5 baths. Okay.
Okay, we'd like to open up the floor to the public for any comments or questions.
I'll read down. I think most of you are here for the next project, but I'll read down who signed in. If you wish to say anything, let me know. Bob Babs.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments you want for this?
Yeah, services.
Okay. John, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, back to the original plan. Basically for a single home there.
I think that was a project they were considering doing in Vienna, and they opted to not.
That was supposed to be down here.
Oh, okay. It might have been someone who owned it before them. Okay. Dave's here for the next one. Jeff and Jerry are good. Rick?
Yeah, I have several questions here. I'm up from city council and have to follow my district. And I live on Second Street. I'm also on economic development board with, Perry and Mark. So it does affect me in some ways. But my questions are, is the city gonna take over the maintenance of the storm and sewers?
Yes, there'll be easements, down the line that will be.
So the city will be taking that over. Okay, so there will be an emergency plan in case that thing comes, what, right?
There will be a drainage report that'll have to be submitted.
Well, my backyard, I could get that from. Second Street, okay, they're gonna have streetlights. Well, that's the plans, I see they got streetlights, is there any streetlights on there?
That comes in the second phase. Yep, so
And what about the street, are they gonna be city street, or will they end up being private? Be private, I guess they do. Okay, I did see the plans, I got them laid today, and I looked over, I'm very happy to see the storm drain. The retention pond, I thought that was very good, that was gonna be my main problem, because when they cut the trees down, the water came out. Well, for the retaining pond, that would take care of that problem, that was my main concern. And let me see here, this could be sold to private people, it's not gonna be sold to them. Huh? Okay. And, looking at this project, I'm just concerned, there's a lot of children playing that through the apartment complex or into the street on Main Street. We got the senior citizen complex right there, the house in the corner, it got several kids. It might be a little problem with traffic, but that would have to be a city. But it looks like a very good project, you've answered my question about the flooding. That might be. We know, we've been there like 35, 36 years, and the trees broke, it wasn't bad. If they got trees down, here comes the water.
Yep.
But I think it's gonna be a good project, and the people will be very happy to take them. And I think that's about it. Thank you very much.
And as you know, the plat reserves an area for stormwater detention. I assume that's not designed yet, and when you do design it, I think it goes to your board of works and do you review that, or is that reviewed by a third party? Okay, but there's an ordinance that requires them to not release water faster than it is leaves the lot today. And so that will be the test when they have their engineer get that design done. And that'll be done at a public meeting of the Board of Works. If anybody wants to see that when they go seek that approval, then you can ask the city engineer to give you a notice.
I know, here's a lot. Michael. Well, thank you for your time. I think it'll be a very nice project. It's been empty for years. And, thank you very much for listening to me and putting this project, off the ground and keep on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Troy, do you want to ask any questions? Troy, Karen?
Yeah, there's no public, there's no, I don't know, what time do you typically meet, Board of Works?
1:30 on 2 Wednesdays a month. Before you leave, if you'll, or if you just want to give your number to Rick, I'll get it from him and I'll give you a call whenever that meeting is.
There's an agenda that will be posted, but there's no individual notice requirements like there was for this meeting.
Yeah, so I'll give you a call whenever that happens.
Are there section 8? Speed.
You can answer that, sure, that's people. That's just a long translation. Okay. Now here. Raise the standard.
Good question. Second, on your list.
Yes.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Okay, we'll close this portion of the public input. I guess the last thing we can do is we can entertain a motion to approve this. If there's no further discussion.
And that's why I asked if it was the prior, it's gonna come back to us after everything has been checked to make sure that everything is copacetic with where it lands and streets and everything.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to make sure that we're approving the initial plat.
You're basically giving them a green light to go get all the additional plans done and spend the money to do that.
I'll make the motion, that we approve it at request.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Okay.
Okay, so next on the docket is PC-3-25, which is a Lakeshore Drive change of zoning petition. This is a change of zoning request, and the Plan Commission will send this on with a recommendation to the City Council to hear next week. So when this goes to City Council, you'll send it with a favorable, non-favorable, or no recommendation. Mr. Aniho, the applicant, is requesting to change the zoning from R1 to R3 to conform for uses he is proposing for the property. This includes, but isn't limited to, enclosing a carport for residential use, placing a modular home on the property, and converting existing buildings into multifamily living spaces. 20 public notice letters were sent out, 16 responded objecting. That's slightly different than the numbers in your package. We got 2 more submitted after these were created. No one responded not objecting, and none were undeliverable. Any notes from the Technical Advisory Committee and any public notice responses are in your packet. And as you all know, you're upheld to state code on this. They give you 5 standards to consider when looking at the changes of zoning. Those are in, that's on page 164 of your UDO, but Mr. Pfeiffer will guide us with that as we move along. The applicant's attorney is here, though, I believe, to present on his behalf. So if you want to take the floor.
Mr. Nyhall would like to, request a change of zoning from use to make it residential. Multi-family, residential. You can go, operators, currently in agreements for several years, I think 2 or 3 years, vacant. Prior to that, as you know, I mean, I've had a property where as it is now, it's kind of nice. I think, the community would be well served, have return to functionality, and have a person who is incentivized, to be nice. Keep it nice, so that it's not a standard property, but things are not do. I know he was asked, and I thought this was premature, come up with plans. He is, I mean, I will say, I think it's irregular and grossly unfair to ask you guys to spend a lot of money on architects and engineers at a point when he's trying to just get zoning changed. He doesn't even know if you have a higher. And he hand drew kind of a free form. I think this is more illustrative than actual. I don't know that the buildings there justify the number of years on there. I would say that at this stage, all he's asking me to do is to see if it's worth, if we need to see if it's worth making into a residential property, which means so is that it's going to be allowed. At this stage, we're not asking this body or anybody else to accept with on specified with the number of days. He would put the number of years that he goes legally in all that. At this stage, it was actually this body that we would recommend that this particular property be converted to poly. And if there's time,
Is he planning on tearing that building down or just? I've been in there, it's.
yeah, his notion is, I mean, he's gonna start with the premise that architect, engineer will walk in and say, you can do this, this, and this with the existing structure. But we know, when he says that now, it's a development, I mean, it's a project. So any given notion there. So the simple answer is that's what he would like to do. Use the existing structure and not have to tear down. Whether that's possible. That's something to find out. It's not. It's not what Ben wanted. We already know that he's not going to do it.
Well, I would like to speak up. When I received this, and I believe anyone that wants to invest in our community is welcome to invest in our community, but we have a specific plan or a vision or a standard that we're going to hold, and we've actually outlined it. So if I were investing, if it were me and I were investing in this, I was serious about it, that's a lot of property. Those are a lot of units that are going to be developed. I would want to relay to this committee the information necessary for us to make a good decision. And I feel like, just me personally, I can't even make a good decision. To be fair or unfair about it, I would always try to be fair. In that I have a drawing on a piece of paper that has no scale, no numbers, no. You saw the previous presentation where square feet, first floor, square feet, second floor, total square feet. So I believe in our standard 600 minimum would be the square footage. And that may be what this is, but I have absolutely no idea. So I personally would feel very uncomfortable just on that layout plat drawing Because you mentioned it would take some money to hire an engineer or an architect to actually lay that out. But then, of course, he's serious about investing in our community. So therefore, I would think that investment would be part of the whole attempt to develop here.
There is something I think you're overlooking. The previous project was requesting plat approval. As council specified, one of the conditions is, do they meet current zoning requirements? And so for them, it's very reasonable to spend money on the next step in the process, because they're already at the zoning step. Now, I absolutely agree. If this was already zoned R3, or if it gets zoned R3, and if they're not, who wants to move on to the next step, then he should be held to the same standard. I think we did a good job. But I mean, I think that is a reasonable standard for me to be held. But Mr. McLean is not at that stage. He doesn't have to still. And so, I mean, at this stage, I think I understand what you're saying. Yes. Because, you know, investment made in some realistic, like, return. And at this point, it's not reasonable. It's not, do the step 2 level of investment. It's just trying to get this thing.
I'm not clear on what it is. I know the building, I know it was a nursing home. And I know that it didn't meet the requirements to be a nursing home, so they closed it.
Yes.
That
is also.
But I don't know what you would call it. What would you call it? Would you call it, would you call it a hotel? Would you call it? I don't know.
I'm gonna ask to clarify the question. Are you asking, I mean, presently, I would just call it abandoned building. In ISO.
Yeah.
A blight on the community.
What would you call it after you're done with it?
So
I think it would be apartments, is that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So let me try to clarify. So it's zoned R1 today.
Yeah.
And the only residential use that's permitted in R1 is single family residential.
Yeah.
Standalone, single family house. They're asking to rezone to R3, and the permitted residential uses in R3 are what's defined as a multifamily dwelling, which means buildings with more than 4 units in each building. Single family dwellings attached, which means duplexes, and dwelling 2-family, which is similar, and a group home. So those are the only residential. If that's what it's rezoned to, his development proposal that he would bring back here, either by a plat or a development plan, would have to be for one of those uses, or else you got to either rezone further or go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and seek a use variance. So
what you just described is what he's trying to do. If you want a one-word description, apartments, rental units. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand whether it is a apartment with a bedroom, kitchen, bathroom, or
I think you're getting to, so we've had this conversation, the community has certain regulations. Studios are not allowed. And so I guess what I'm saying is, we don't know. If it's zoned for residential use, they will be conforming residential use. That's the idea. But again, that's step 2. He's gonna get somebody in as Ms. Baker, I think. I mean, some of the buildings may end up not being suitable for anything. And if they're torn down, then it's a different, right, completely different discussion. He's gonna be coming in and saying, I'm building from scratch. This is what I'd like to build. You might see something very similar to, I'm speculating. But that whole conversation, what you're describing, at this stage is purely speculative. His, I guess, in his dream world, those buildings are all suitable. They can be divvied up some kind of way that's acceptable, and it's multifamily. Probably each of the buildings. I don't know if that's 4 or 6, 2. And at this point, we don't know which of the buildings. Like, usually.
So, my comment would be that you kind of hit on the point that you're just looking for it as possible. And
Yes, that's,
from my end, and how I'm looking at it, I don't have enough information here in front of me to say that I think it's going to meet R3 and meet the UDO, those.
I can tell you, if you look at the lot, the size of the lot, there's plenty of room. So I think respectable. When you say I don't know if it'll meet the requirements, I agree with you with especially I don't agree with what your feeling, what your view of it is. But I can say conventionally, that space by its location is close to other residential units or other residential properties. There's that nice lake, just saw the walking pathway thing. It's desirable residential space. It is not because the car wash is on the main, it's not on the lot strikes me as more location for residential space than a location for commercial space. I don't know that, obviously nobody bought it. So I don't know if R1 is a realistic one. That R1 is a stuff with the basic top. That R3 we wrote in somebody who developed died. That's not how we get developed.
The other thing I would say in that regard, and in agreement with what I saw Carmen wrote to you earlier, the buildings that are there now are not legally non-conforming. So whatever they would propose to use those buildings for would have to comply with all of the development standards in the R3 district, or they would have to add on to them and modify them or whatever. But the lot sizes will have to conform to R3 and the buildings will have to conform to R3 if they are rehabilitated.
I want to be very clear. We are not asking for a blank check. We're not asking for you to, vote zoning and then ignore the buildings and ignore everything else. At this stage, we're asking for step 1. If this can be used for residential property, and I mean multifamily, it's not, Mr. Knight is not going to use it for a single family. It's not suitable. So if it's worth looking into, can we make this viable, acceptable multifamily? I believe this will lot itself. And in a zoning issue, you're not looking at the building. The buildings may or may not be suitable. We don't know. We're not doing, we're dealing with that. The property itself has plenty of space. Its location facing some nice residential areas. Meaning, in a way, good place to live. That's what. In that conversation.
This is our option to have a say in something, without seeing what it's gonna be at the end of the day. Because we're required by statute to approve if it meets all those things once we get to.
Well, this is different than the plat. This is a discretionary decision in which, so I gave you Indiana Code 3674-603. Those are the 5 factors that the legislature said you must consider in making this decision. But at the end of the day, even if you found what they're doing consistent with all of those, as long as you gave reasonable consideration to those factors, you can vote in favor or against. This isn't a checklist.
Right, but if they came back and met all, we next standards, then we don't get to have that say like we were.
What?
Except that if you allow them to hold it today, there is I guess a conditionality. When he comes back to get plat approved, he does have to meet. So that is the process is if it's zoned correctly, then the community gets to say, oh, you can build residential. But you have to do it on a natural practice because you're up and down. I mean, it's true, if he does everything, you do have to approve it. So the thing is, if he does everything, you're gonna want to approve it because does everything means he's met all the rules. So I understand what you're saying. I'll just address the elephant in the room thing. I think there's a perception that Mr. Lahey is in terrible. That's not really accurate, but I do understand the feeling. He did another project and he did quality under the circumstances. That was a separate project. This is a very different project, doesn't face the same adversity. And so he's got the opportunity, incentive to do something. So I have more enjoy. But he cannot do that. I mean, a no today is a no. A yes today is not a yes. It's just a yes. You come back with very detailed plans so we can see and have a good understanding of what the end product is going to be. If you vote yes today, all you're doing is saying we want you to come back and give us a very clear picture of the end. And if the end product meets our standards, well, of course, we have to approve it. We don't have to approve it because it meets standards.
Yeah. The other thing I would say to that is I gave you a second statute that I think is relevant to this, and it's 3674-1015, which deals with zoning commitments. So it used to be when an applicant came in with a plat or a development plan, they could voluntarily give you zoning commitments and say, if you approve this, I'll build houses that aren't less than X number of square feet. And that gets put into a document that the plan commission approves, and it gets recorded, and those things run with the property. Well, in 2014, the legislature amended that statute and says that either you or the legislative body can impose commitments. I'm not sure you know enough today to know what commitments to impose, but if he's going to move forward with any development on that property that has more than one building, you can only have one primary structure on a lot. So the property is going to have to go through the same platting process that you just heard today. And I've highlighted section A1, which is a condition to the adoption of the rezoning proposal. I didn't highlight number 2, but if you were to subsequently approve a primary plat, you'll have an opportunity to attach those conditions to the property. When the city council considers the rezoning proposal, they can impose conditions at that stage too. But since this is just your recommendation, it's really them that would impose those commitments for the rezoning. You're responsible for the platting, so that would be your job to attach any conditions conditions or commitments, whatever you want to call them at that time. So you'll get another bite at the apple, even if the property is rezoned.
I got a question for Carmen. On the history of this property, I'm actually kind of surprised that it's zoned R1 currently. When was that zoning changed? Because I know that structure used to be a car wash itself.
I looked back, I can't see any changes in the past, so it would have had to be since at least 2004. But there aren't any records before that.
So it's already been a non-conforming use all that time, then, correct?
It's been a non-conforming use, but once a property sits vacant, it loses that non-conforming use. Yeah, after a year. So it goes back to being illegally non-conforming as opposed to legally non-conforming.
Which means you have to bring it into conformance.
And that's why we're here today. But yeah, there weren't any documents, so I don't know if it was zoned R1 whenever they looked at this in 2004 in hopes that if something changed with the property, it would revert back to that, but.
Is there any record of when it went from being a car wash to a residential area?
No.
No history of that.
So you're being asked to just make a recommendation to the city council. The recommendation can be either favorable, unfavorable, or no recommendation. And the only distinction between those is the procedure that applies after it goes to the city council. So if you make a favorable recommendation, they have 90 days in which to reject your recommendation and don't approve the rezoning ordinance, or else it's deemed approved, whether they officially adopt an ordinance or not. If it gets a no recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation, if it's not approved within 90 days, it's deemed denied, whether the city council adopts an ordinance or rejects an ordinance or not. It's deemed automatically denied. That's the only functional difference between your recommendation, but that's what the legislature says your role is.
All right, do we have any other comments or questions, Ms. Miller?
Mr. Pfeiffer, if he would come back, the owner would come back another time, and could we approve of R3 with the plat proposal, if we had that all at one time, or it has to go through these different?
No, you could do those in tandem. It's just, I think as Mr. Radowitz says, it's just how much money is he willing to spend today before knowing the use is permitted. I think that's really what's driving this, and it's really up to you to decide whether you think you have enough information or whether you need a conceptual, well, I'll call it a conceptual plat drawing, where you're not spending a lot of money, but there's some kind of design out there, maybe some specimen, other buildings that photos of that he thinks he wants to build buildings that look sort of like this. So you don't have to spend a ton of money, but you have a higher comfort level. I think either one of those are appropriate paths. It's up to you to decide.
Okay, any other questions from the board? All right, at this time, I would like to open it up to the public.
And we'll go just down the list.
And you, there's a measured amount of time, so we would like to keep that as brief as possible.
Okay. Bob Babs.
Yes. I'm next door to this place. Back when they closed the nursing home down, it wasn't suitable for the nursing home. They thought about condemning it. Now he wants to make apartments. He's also making improvements now, to the gym area, on one building. Apartment, now, 5 floors, excuse me, in there, and he's wanting to build another one. Showing to him. And the sewer problem, we have that like something else. There's times, especially when the rain, drainage comes down, yeah, it goes in there, no fellow. And for the sewer, when the sewer lines are up on fire ground, you just go from the trailer park down there and you share everything into the sewer into the lake. Well, that makes good access. City. I hate to see it destroyed. And I think more buildings and tax authorities in the That's why I'm against it.
Thank you, Mr. Babs.
Let's see. John, were you wanting to speak on this?
I don't know, any,
Okay.
Drainage problem. At least.
You can go.
Is this the same gentleman that owns the apartments and where that take office and we, and they have one bathroom, one kitchen, two apartments, they share that. They share it. The same gentleman owns those, it's willing to buy this.
Absolutely.
Well, he does.
I was gonna say, you see what performance that was.
It's two apartments, sure. Okay. Kitchen.
Say. There's different. Sort of now, that project, when we acquired that property, it's in very different circumstances. Now, say what you will about it, it seems to feel there's a accident. Stuff like that, but this particular property has none, which is why he's trying to do something different. Now, I can't speak to any of the approval process of that previous projects, but it is there, it is what it is. This project is dealing with a very different, first of all, a very different process. In here, I'm going to see all the if the zoning is allowed, then you're gonna move on to the plat. And you will have a very good picture of what exactly it's going to be. Now, just. So that's. That is, I mean, up to them. I don't know if that's something that they're. I don't know if it's going to play. But if the point you're trying to make is that it should not be used for a lawful use. I mean, I just can't speak to them. It won't be used in the capacity if that is not approved. Mr. Myers, I mean, Manly's commitment to the Biden.
When was section 8 apartments do?
So here's the thing about section 8. It is a bad way to start asking a property owner to abide by the laws of the community. By at the very outset, asking him to brazenly violate the law of the community. It is discriminatory to make any kind of decision based on whether the applicant is using section 8 to pay for part of all. I would say that Mr. Naidu is going to want to develop good units, and he's going to want tenants who will respect those good units and be good members of the community. Whether those people are paying their rent out of some big fat trust fund in a Swiss bank account, or whether they're paying it by selling hash down the corner, or whether they pay it with the Section 8 housing budget is quite literally not his business to discriminate against. It is illegal for him to do that. It is touch and go, whether it is legal to be brought up here.
Okay,
So that's the answer. I don't know if it will, but I can tell you is he will abide by the law.
okay, let's have our, move on here with our next.
Okay, Rick, do you have any comments?
I work over there at Bowles and his perk department, it's a mess. We've watched people die over there, we've watched, police show up on a regular basis, sheriff department is a mess capital. It's what it the height. Now, what he's gonna do over there, I'm not sure. But he's not much of a landlord, because you got there, I would like to say, the Salt Valley of Scott County, but they're very colorful. If we, actually, we get them on the camera, and they are very upfront with people. Drug overdoses, policemen, and all hours of the day and night. I don't know, I like to just go away.
Karen? Troy? Okay, Mark?
I represent District 3. This falls in my jurisdiction. From the picture we get painted on Highway 31, I can't imagine this is going to be much different. This project is much different. By the public notice paper that we all received, so we were here tonight to talk about converting the carport into another apartment and placing a modular home on the grassy area on the east end of the property. Well, that wasn't supposed to start until after this meeting. The carport was started being framed in on July 1st. And then on Sunday, July 6th, electrical wiring being ran, and then they put a plastic sheeting on the back wall on the north side that they started framing. So work's already started on this property without any permission, and he's been asked to vacate the building where Mr. Minor lived at, with 4 apartments in there, with people in, no approval on that. So it's just really been kind of a mess. And from what the city police say, they've responded to several different calls at this facility, 131. They don't want to have to respond to more calls that way. And Bobby Wilson, who is the inspector, I talked to him on the phone today. He had a lot of concerns. I won't take up a lot of your time, but he was telling me about the people in Jim Minor's home that 4 apartments there, and some of the apartments are sharing one by the apartments on 31, as Ms. Babb said, 2 apartments sharing one bathroom. Been fights over who gets to use the kitchen, been fights over who gets back. So it's just a mess. And I can't really see any possible improvement to what the Lake Iowa property would be on his vision for the apartments there at Lake Iowa Assisted Living, on the pole barn building, which was the dance barn. He's got on here 3 individual studio apartments. And then you look at the hand drawing, he's got 4. So with really not any more information than what this is, I'd really like to see this denied until we can see some better planning down the road. But right now, I just can't see this actually flying. To make this a beautiful property, I'm not too sure about that compared to see what I see on Highway 30. So I really wish you guys could consider finding this and just leave it on. And we don't need a modular home. Still.
Thank you. Mayor Amick, did you want to speak on this topic?
I can just take some of the history behind it. I probably was really about when I came around and in the first and Minor purchased it probably in the 60s, and that was what is American Rental now. And Minor sold that, and they built, actually had a car wash when they were looking at that. So you're exactly correct. So they moved their appliance store down to where the car wash was at. Eventually Jim moved it. So he built a home there, so it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home. Garage on the west side, the carport on the west. They like to square it. So they built the den barn, Mark's, basically just next to it. And it was never, there's consistently. And they had about 15 rooms in there. There was a lot of space as well for more development inside there. In my concern, well, like, he's a very charismatic individual, but where he's beginning, he just goes in and the next thing I know, I'm driving, I'm living. Garage is turned into an apartment, 2 apartments, I think 4th apartment is going to be for that apartment. And yet, stop over and keep on doing. And that's what I'm seeing out there. The main facilities located there now. Assisted living, they've got to have those in the eyes. That's the history behind it. Years. But anyways, that's.
So Mayor, can I just clarify something? Did you say that there was a stop order submitted on the work for that property?
We sent code enforcement say stop work on this. He was, the carport that Mark was mentioning, it had been framed up with nothing else. And now coming and continuing on that. And that went on to the able stop. Guys, you have to. You're not talking. You're talking today. There's a work on stop.
The work wasn't permitted.
Okay.
The work was permitted on that, in fact. As far as insulation in there.
Permitted, not permanent. Sorry. Yeah, we're good.
Any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've heard from public. We'll close the public comments at this time.
Give an opportunity to rebut anything that they said for a couple minutes.
Would you like an opportunity to rebut anything that you heard that you would like to comment on?
I'm not going to. I think we do have a very well considered one collection. What I would say is, the guy who's done things, he certainly in the previous process, which is, again, my being here, he's made a very significant commitment to following process, to doing this, and everything else. At this stage, he is not asking you guys to write a blank check to turn the other cheek, stick your head in and everything else. He's saying, commit to letting me move on to the next phase, which is to show you specifically what I'm going to do so that you can see that it's something you want to. Again, I remind you, this is a vacant property. It's abandoned, it is an eyesore. I've been there. I know in its current form, it is not what you want. There is no calorie who's going to ride in and turn this into some beautiful sugar family house. It's not going to happen. So as a community, you have to decide what is it that you have done. Do you residential property that you just want to make it fine?
Ask question.
Ask what?
Is he buying this on contract?
So
Well, he's already paid.
They can-
I mean, it's, he's gonna buy it.
Either have to get a bond for the cost of the public. And
But there-
they don't front them. So should be some books, those kinds of things. And it's searching on the property. It's a mayor. Meter and city engineer. They can do it to put that in. But it has to be done before they can come back. It has to be completed and accepted before they can come back. Without, you get them, they can come back.
It could be made into something. You've got some engineers that need to do it, if not him. I mean,
There's no lots.
like Dylan is very, regular. One issue you will face is you've got someone that wants to do something. There's plenty of people who want to check quarterback and say, no, that's not the thing that can be done. It should be somebody else. But inevitably, most people, all people are not willing to take it. So when you say it's not also something could be done, you're right, something could be done. And if you've got enough idea, this is America, you fly in and do it. But you've got one person, only one person who's trying to do something with that property. If it's not done, nothing is done. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and I grew up watching neighborhoods just fall apart because everybody had a better idea of what someone was trying to do with it. Nothing got done. And when nothing gets done, you know what gets done with the property? The property. And we can't.
Our lake is an asset to Scottsburg.
I hear it, and I would just hate to see that, like, that asset.
I would hate to.
And I would hate to see it look like the neighborhood I grew up in.
You're doing your job, I respect you.
Thank you very much. I respect you too, but I think honestly, I think if you do, you will invite me to that. And I think that if you've got someone who is willing to put in the time and put in the money, it is worth you guys taking the effort of doing and saying, we can move on to the next phase. But if you want approval for the next phase, you have to show us this, and this. That gives you a chance to control it. Whereas if you're going to, then you've got no control. It's controllable.
Okay, all right. Do you have any other comments? Or address any other things? Okay, all right.
Now you can close the public hearing.
We appreciate that. So now I think I can officially close the public part. Yes, sir.
What's your name?
What's your name?
I got you down, Mike.
Okay, Mr. Thompson.
This individual won't really, he can stop down, Scottsburg. Is he a resident of the county or the city?
I don't know. He has a business in Scott County.
If he's one. Change this person again. My point is, it's a project, I'm trying to say, if he doesn't live.
He's property owner. He's got a right to have.
He can carry it.
He owns,
Everyone understands that right now.
right.
Here, to get his money, and you say if you go to the top, that's what this is. So it's like a top. If I can get, I just wanted to get it on my head. Very good.
I do know this, that he owns a small manufacturing business as you're coming in town from Salem on the left on Cardinal Lane, that white building where the Amish have their houses set out in that lot. You've probably seen them for sales on the left side, right before you get into town coming from Salem. So I do know that he has that building in that facility. Whether he's a resident or not, I can't answer that question.
And I don't think it matters. he's a property owner, and under state law, you got a right to ask for your property to be rezoned.
Yep. Okay, if there's no further public comment, I'd like to close that section of our hearing for this item. At this point in time, we can have a motion of some sort to, the three items are move to approve, move, or
Favorably recommend.
favorably recommend, not recommend, or no recommendation. Those will be the three motions that could be made available.
Favorably, non-favorably.
Favorably, non-favorably,
Or
no
no recommendation.
no recommendation.
I'll make a motion for a non-favorable recommendation.
We have a motion for non-favorable recommendation. We have a second for non-favorable recommendation. I would like to take a vote at this time by raising your hand. All those in favor of a non-favorable recommendation, raise your hand. Any opposed to that? It's unanimous that there's a non-favorable recommendation.
So,
This
and I appreciate, Carmen will certify your decision to the city council, and it goes on the agenda of the next city council meeting unless they withdraw the matter from the city council. So they'll have a right to do that. If, Mr. Radowitz, if that happens, I didn't see this until today, and I just didn't want you to get ambushed with this if your client wishes to proceed. But I was given a recorded memorandum of a real estate contract. Have you ever seen that before for this property?
Yes, I
Where he, and it was made in December of 2024. So if the real estate contract has not been fully satisfied to where he's eligible to get a deed, I think it requires the seller's consent or joinder in the application for the rezoning, because I think the seller remains the legal owner, but you can have a copy of that if you like it.
And Dave, the next city council meeting is a week from today here at 6 PM. Yes, I'll send you an email tomorrow with everything, but just so you're aware.
Well, if he withdraws the application, then it doesn't get voted on at all, and I don't know.
And I don't think we have a time limit that before he could reapply.
I think there's a 1-year time limit unless there's a considerable change to the application. If there's considerable change, you could apply again, but
That's if it goes forward and it's denied.
If it goes forward.
If you withdraw it, he can
If
come
he
back, he can
withdraws
come
it,
back
he
in
can
with the same plan anytime.
Okay, very good. All right, next on the agenda, Carmen?
okay, last on the agenda is kind of just a ministerial motion from you guys. The city of Scottsburg has many floodplains within it. And as such, if someone owns property that has a floodplain on it, they are typically required to carry floodplain insurance. In order for them to have access to the National Flood Insurance Program, the city has to meet certain floodplain regulations. So every few years, the state updates these, and they come around to communities and say, hey, this is where we need to see your floodplain ordinance match ours. It's nothing super exciting. They brought us a standard updated copy of what they're requiring now at the state level. The mayor and I met with our legal counsel and another city engineering consultant. Everyone is good with the changes. So you all also have to recommend this to city council. So it would be finalized by them next week, but this is just your all's recommendation. Austin went through the process earlier this year.
But I assume the state wants to see a resolution, a formal written resolution that you have before you
Yes.
as evidence that you consent.
Yes, the state wants to see it go through the plan commission and the city council. So that's why we're here today.
So on the resolution before you, as you can read, for the recommended the council an ordinance revising its flood hazard areas and damage prevention measures. Do we have a motion from the council, favorable or unfavorable, or no recommendation?
I make a motion, we make it the
Favorable.
favorable.
Okay, we have a motion for favorable. Ms. Balderas seconds the motion. All in favor of a favorable resolution? Aye. All opposed? Okay, unanimous on favorable resolution. Okay, the next item would be any announcements? Do we have any announcements?
The only announcement I have is you all will meet on August 18th for a regular meeting. You'll have one reasoning request on the application.
Okay,
And that is all I have tonight.
okay, then the last item on the agenda would be adjournment. And we have a motion to,
I'll make that motion.
there we go. We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second. We have a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, go home.